My name is Mike, and I just got hit by a car. It's a bright and sunny morning. Everybody seems to have a smile on their face. They might as well be in a Broadway musical. The sun's rays break golden into a beautiful display color and light. A bird flies to a nearby fence and perches on one of the posts. It's one of those days straight out of a Disney movie. I do not give a damn. That woman, I mumble angrily under my breath. The nerve of her. Then she goes on to scold me like it's my fault today's the deadline. At this point, I realize I am talking to myself. I look around and pretend to be singing a song, gently swaying my head to a non-existent beat to add to my credibility. I reach in my pocket and take out my earphones. If my temporary insanity is to be covered up with music, then I might as well listen to some. I manage to put on my earphones, choose a playlist, and cross the avenue, all the while evading oncoming people and old parking meter poles. This kind of multitasking is impressive, but I am not in the mood for personal accolades. I am too angry. My phone vibrates in my pocket. It's a call, and considering the circumstances, I need to answer it. I look around for city council. Then it dawns on me that I have my headset on. So I steal a glimpse at the screen just to be sure who I am about to talk to. Crap, I don't need this now. I take a deep breath, exhale, then I talk into the microphone discreetly hanging just below my chin. Hi, Mom. I speak, trying my best to hold my emotions. The next several minutes are decked with a series of mms and yes. She hangs up. I really don't need this. I whisper, not caring if anyone thinks I'm crazy. My phone rings again, and I don't need to check who it is. I already know it's her. Yes, Mom, I ask. Yes, I carried it. No, Mom, I don't know if they have your contact details. How could I have known the deadline was today? You didn't tell me. I try to keep the conversation as calm as I can muster, regularly checking for council officers as I cross City Avenue. I am almost at Anniversary Towers, Mom. She hangs up again. I should be throwing a huge tantrum asking random people in town who she thinks she is hanging up on me, but I don't. I do not need this. I keep on walking as the onlookers laugh on behind me. I am opposite the city market. The smell of raw fish coming from the market makes me walk faster. My phone rings again, and I answer. Yes, Mom. I am almost… Look, it's your fault I'm doing this last minute. I am shouting now, but I do not care. I keep my eyes fixed on the pavement. Mom, look, I am almost there. Silence. She doesn't hang up. Neither do I. But the conversation ends abruptly. I never see it coming. I don't even know how it happens. The next few moments are characterized by a series of sounds. I hear my mom's voice, then a screech, the kind car tires make, then a sly, evil bang. Everything seems to be in slow motion. People start walking towards me, and I don't understand why they all seem to be hovering above me. Soon, I am surrounded by a horde of people. Half of a black Subaru sticks into the circle. I know it's a Subaru. I don't know how, but I do. I notice a small dent on the car's front bumper. Then things start falling into place. I notice that my right sock is showing. Where is my shoe? I ask. Or mumble. I'm not too sure because nobody seems to be communicating with me. Someone goes back into the car and walks out with a small notebook while talking on phone. I can't hear what he is saying, but I catch a few words. Oh crap, wait a minute. Lost shoe, dents, and people staring and not doing anything. I just got hit, my brain announces. I stay on the tarmac for a few more minutes, staring at the crowd as they stare back at me. Mom is going to be mad at me. What's your story? True Tales wants to hear it. If you also have any such moment, you can share it in the comments section below. Hit the like button if you liked my story. Subscribe to this channel to watch more such videos, and press the bell icon for more updates. Everyone faces a bad day in their life, and so I too. Hi, this is John, and this is the story of when I was in school. My exams were on and I was in the classroom solving question paper. A single bead of sweat rolled down the middle of my forehead and made its lonely journey along the bridge of my nose, finally settling at the tip. It hung there precariously for what seemed a lifetime before dropping downward. It landed squarely on the question paper, nestling between the number 25 and the beginning of the actual question. I was completely oblivious of it or the other beads of sweat that were pouring copiously from my head. Some even stung my eyes painfully, but I made no attempt to wipe them away, let alone close my eyes. The room was not particularly hot, nor was I running a fever, though I'd wished I'd been sick on this particular day. It would have given me a good excuse not to take the test. Maybe I should feign illness, I thought. God knows I looked the part. Again, I quickly dismissed the idea. It would never work because I had used that excuse too many a time. Besides, more than half the scheduled time for the exam had elapsed, and it would be pointless at this point. I looked down again at my empty answer sheet, and the severity of the present situation really sunk in. My sweat poured down my head as a mild panic attack set in. I silently cursed myself for not studying the previous night. The football game in the field outside my house was way too enticing, and I had bowed to peer pressure like a cheap umbrella in a storm. In retrospect, studying last night would have had little effect on the outcome today. It was not like this was a pop quiz or a midterm exam that sprung on me and had not time to read. I had a full 8 years to prepare for this exam. Everyone knew that the whole point of a primary school education was to pass this exam and get into a good secondary school. It had been drummed into all and sundry from the get-go that this was a make-or-break 3 days. In one fluid motion, I looked around the room, making my desperation with a casual yawn and stretch. My closest colleagues were at least a meter away in either direction. None of my fellow examinees seemed troubled. They all had their eyes fixed squarely on their question papers, concentrating like their lives literally depended on it, before turning their attention to the answer sheet and shading away. I had never felt more alone in my whole life. A break in this almost choreographed dance of read then write caught my eye. I noticed that Vera, the girl to my immediate left, was not reading her question paper. Instead, she was surreptitiously lifting her school dress and reading off her thigh. I should have been outraged, but instead I myself for not thinking of that. I looked up at her totally impressed, then down at my shorts, and mentally pictured myself writing down information I would have needed in the exam room. Again, I cursed myself almost audibly this time. On the other hand, I could not imagine what would happen if I was caught cheating. With the last bit of courage in me, I called out to Paul, who sat some seats away from me. Since the commencement of the exams, he had his face buried in his question papers as he seemed to answer with extreme ease. I winked at him and he got the sign. Slowly, he tore a small part of his paper and hurriedly scribbled some answers on it. I watched him as he worked. The mere thought terrified me to the point of causing my saliva to taste like sawdust in my mouth. I could see it now in my mind. The disapproving look from my teachers, the disappointment from my parents, the school headmaster being forced to call the police, the dark interrogation room, and finally breaking down and selling Paul out as his source. The thought snapped me back to reality. I can't go through this. I folded the paper to a small square and placed it on my slipper. I looked around just to be sure I wasn't watched before sliding it down to me. I could feel my heart rate increase with fear rushing through my body. I was relieved as I picked the paper and opened to see the precious answers I was racking my head for. Just as I was about to drop the slipper and slide it back, I heard the booming voice of the chief invigilator. "John, what do you have in your hand there?" I almost peed in my pants as I held the paper in my hand. "Come outside," the chief invigilator shouted again. With shame and disgrace written over me, I stood in front of my classmates. The class became a bit noisy as the remaining students began murmuring. The invigilators called my parents and invited them over, and I just stood watching, waiting for the dreaded day to end. What's your story? True Tales wants to hear it. If you also have any such moment, you can share it in the comments section below. Hit the like button if you liked my story, subscribe to this channel to watch more such videos, and press the bell icon for more updates.
It was just a regular night. My boyfriend of 3 months and I were out to dinner. He loved cooking and was a food snob. My mother rarely cooked while I was growing up, so we'd eaten at a lot of restaurants. My boyfriend ordered a steak salad, and I got soup and a sandwich. We had a great dinner together. We went back to my place, a tiny 2-bedroom, 2-bath, to watch a movie. Pick something, he told me, and I picked up the remote and scrolled through Netflix and settled on an episode of The Office. I don't feel so hot, he said when we were about 10 minutes into the episode. He stood up and went into the bathroom next to my living room. I paused the show to wait for him. And then I heard it. All of it. My boyfriend was having explosive diarrhea, not even 10 feet from where I was sitting. There was another bathroom he could have chosen, but he was in the one right next to where I was sitting. When a few minutes passed and he was still occupied, I unpaused the show to at least give him some privacy. Then the smell hit me. It was so strong that it was almost violent. I felt the sandwich and soup I'd eaten for dinner rise into my throat, and I swallowed hard. I lit several candles, but instead of masking the smell, the lavender and vanilla mixed with it. I turned on the fan and tried breathing through my mouth. I heard the toilet flush and he came out. He was sweating. "I'm sick," he told me. He sat on the couch, leaning heavily on the arm of it. I told him, "Do you want to go home?" He lived less than a mile from me, so he could have easily driven home to be sick in private. "No," he told me. "If I'm going to die, I'd want it to be here in your arms." I cringed and then tried to play it off like I was just shivering. Now that the bathroom door was open, the smell was overpowering. I tried holding my breath and taking little sips of air in an attempt to stem my queasiness. A few minutes later, he was back in the bathroom. I didn't even pause the show this time, and I turned it up louder to try not to hear everything that was going on in there. The smell compounded. I turned on every fan in my little place and lit a candle in every room. When he left the bathroom after the second time, I pushed a candle and lighter onto him and told him to put it in the bathroom. "Are you sure you don't want to go home?" I asked again. "No, it'll pass soon," he said, looking pale. "It's probably just food poisoning." "Don't you want to be alone?" I asked. He looked at me and said, "I want to be with you. Why would now be any different?" How is he not seeing that I don't want him here? I thought. Is he blind? I thought to myself as I looked at him, if I really loved him, I wouldn't be acting this way. I'd be offering him medicine or water, asking him if he needed anything. I wouldn't keep asking him if he wanted to leave. And then, the next thought hit me hard. I don't love him. I took a deep breath, and the smell that had invaded my entire place seized my body. I had always guessed our relationship would have an expiration date. I just hadn't realized until this moment when that date would be. "Are you okay?" he asked. The irony of the fact that he was asking if I was okay was not lost on me, especially since I hadn't offered him the same kindness. I nodded. "Do you want me to leave?" he asked. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to shout, "Yes, please, get out of my house!" My desire to be nice, to exhibit good manners, overrode me. "No, of course not," I told him. "I'm tired, though. I'm going to get ready for bed." He followed me into the bedroom and laid down on my bed. As I was washing my face, I talked to myself. I knew he was meeting friends the next morning, so he would definitely be gone in the morning. I can make it through the night, I told myself. I laid down and he cuddled up behind me. That's when I realized, with horror, that he smelled. "I'm too hot," I told him, and was so glad when he moved away from me in bed. I pulled the covers up to my face and fell asleep. He woke up before me and I pretended to be asleep. When he leaned down to kiss me, I was reminded again of how he really, really needed to take a shower. "Just get him out of my house," I thought. I was so relieved to hear my front door close. He arrived at my house later that day, as we'd originally had plans. "I'm done," I blurted. "What?" he asked. "I'm done. I don't want to be with you anymore." "What? Is this about last night? I was sick." "It just feels like I woke up from a dream," I told him. I didn't know how else to explain it. "I don't want to be with you anymore." "That's so shitty," he told me. The irony of him using shitty to describe this situation wasn't lost on me either. That's my story. What's your story? True Tales wants to hear it. If you also have any such moment, you can share it in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you liked my story. Subscribe to this channel to watch more such videos and press the bell icon for more updates.
Hi there, my name is Bonnie, and this is the story of when I was growing up. At the age of 10, I had a dream about my grandmother passing away. The next morning, I woke up crying, and my whole family told me it was just because I was so close to her. And about a week later, we were dropping my little brother off at her apartment for her to watch. And as we were pulling away in the car, from the back window, I could see her blow me a kiss goodbye. That was it. Everything was happening as it did in my dream. I couldn't speak for the rest of the day. Next morning, my brother called us and told to my mom that my grandmother is in the hospital. I somewhere felt that I already know what is happening and what is going to happen. The next day, when my mom was going to the hospital to see her, I told her that my grandmother's eyes would be open and to say goodbye for me and give her a kiss. That this would be the last time you'll get to see her. Tonight, she's going to pass away. My mother scolded me and rushed to the hospital. So that evening, the phone rang and it was the hospital. I got a cold feeling go through me and goosebumps on my arm. Sure enough, my grandmother had passed. My whole family was in shock about how I could know such things would happen. A few years later, when I was 13, while sitting on the couch in my living room with my great aunt that lived with us, this strange phenomenon happened to me again. I started to see in the backyard sparks flying everywhere. And when I looked to the right side of the yard where the woodshed was, it was heavily covered in sparks. I told my aunt and she said she didn't see anything and that it was my imagination. The very next day, my little brother was outside and playing with his friend with matches in the woodshed. The whole thing went up in flames and my dad burned his arm while rescuing both of them. The strangest and oddest thing happened. My grandfather came home at the end of the day and brought us home fire truck cookies. So, through the years growing up, whenever I think I have any type of strange feelings or visions of things, I don't tell anyone, so that they don't think I'm weird. What's your story? True Tales wants to hear it. If you also have any such moment, you can share it in the comments section below. Hit the like button if you liked my story. Subscribe to this channel to watch more such videos, and press the bell icon for more updates.